Yeah, that happened. So, what did everyone else do during quarantine? So yes, the title was not clickbait. I really did play Animal Crossing every day for a year, which, I'll be the first to admit, wasn't that difficult. I did have to take my Switch on a couple different trips just to fill up my once-a-day requirement, but not too many. It was, and still is, a pandemic after all. And when I say I played once a day, I didn't just turn on the game and shut it off just to say I played it. My minimum requirements were this. Every day I would dig up and donate or sell all 4 fossils, pick up and sell every seashell, water my flowers, interact with the one villager that needed my immediate attention, and interact with and complete the tasks of that day's guest visitor. That last one sort of changed as the year went on, but we'll get to that a bit later. Animal Crossing New Horizons dropped almost the same week as the first pandemic lockdown, so needless to say, I was playing Animal Crossing a lot. We're talking like 2 to 6 hours every day for the first month or so. I fell deep into Animal Crossing, so deep in fact that I totally ignored the release of Final Fantasy VII Remake, a game I've been waiting for nearly 6 years at this point. Oh, and also I should broach this subject right up front. I didn't time travel. In all my 365 days so far with New Horizons, I only time traveled twice. Both times were because I was editing all day, and Nooks was closed by the time I got to play. I have nothing against people who time travel. In the early days of this game, there was a lot of animosity between people who did and didn't time travel, and I never understood why. There's 2 ways to play this game: constantly time traveling and never time traveling. Both are valid ways to enjoy this game. I just happen to prefer not time traveling. I grew up playing the original Animal Crossing on GameCube, and that game is a very slow burn game with usually not much to do in it, but something about it really grasped me. I used to spend time in that game doing absolutely nothing, just walking around and chilling with my main man, Vladimir. I wanted to somewhat recapture that sense of relaxation and no-stress gameplay, and not time traveling gets the job done plenty. My biggest complaint about not time traveling is waiting a day for stairs, ramps, and bridges to be built, but that problem only really plagued me until about early June. So let's talk about Easter. Easter was an experience, to say the least. It was a lot of fun, and it set a precedent in my house for collecting absolutely everything in a given event before it ends. However, this event had some issues. Almost every activity you participated in was plagued with eggs. Eggs here, eggs there, eggs absolutely everywhere. Too many eggs. And what happens next honestly still baffles me to this day. Nintendo reduced the frequency at which eggs appeared. For the first time in what felt like my entire life, Nintendo listened to player feedback and nearly immediately patched the game to accommodate said feedback. This set another precedent. Nintendo actually cared this time around. Sometimes it can feel like Nintendo doesn't know a good thing when they have it. Like how there was no DLC for Super Mario Odyssey, or how you can't play Splatoon 2 local multiplayer. But things felt different this time. It really seemed like Nintendo wanted to keep players interested in New Horizons. Let's talk about Amiibo Cards, because this is the month that I discovered those. Over the last year, I bought maybe 30 of these little guys because they're essentially free villagers. You do not that much work for 3 days in a row, and then they're yours. My first purchase was, of course, my old friend Vladimir. He was the only villager I remembered having back in the day, and I wanted him in my town very badly. From there, I bought many more. Some impulse buys and some sought after. The only issue with Amiibo Cards is that they're from New Leaf, the Animal Crossing game before this one. And New Horizons had 8 brand new villagers. So if you wanted one of those 8 new villagers, you had to get out there and find them in-game, a problem that became more relevant as time went on. These Amiibo cards can range anywhere from a few cents to upwards of $60 or so if you're planning on Amiibo card shopping, make sure you know what you're looking for. Early on, I became obsessed with 100%ing the museum. I focused a lot of time and effort on making sure I caught every bug and every fish before the calendar flipped over, knowing well enough that even if I kept it up, it wouldn't be completed for a whole year. And I think the reason I was so incentivized to do so was just how awesome the museum is. They turned the museum into something to behold in this game. Every exhibit was given a lot of care and made to look and feel like an actual museum exhibit. I even found myself hanging out in the bug exhibit from time to time. Truly one of the coolest takeaways from this game. Oh, and also I eventually played Final Fantasy VII Remake this month. It's also a very good game. At this point, my island was basically done. I had fully upgraded my house, all the bridges, ramps, and terraforming I wanted to do were completed. Now all that was left was to iterate on what was already there. Spend some time on new long-term building projects like my park, keeping up with bug and fish catching, checking in on my villagers, watering flowers, and visiting islands looking for tarantulas to sell. June was also wedding month, which ended up being one of my favorite events all year. It utilized my favorite aspect of New Horizons, room decorating, in a pretty direct way. Reese and Cyrus want to take wedding photos to commemorate their anniversary, and you have to take the picture. Other than setting the theme, you can decorate the room however you wish. Earlier I spoke about there being new villagers exclusive to this game. Those villagers are Sid, Audie, Dom, Judy, Sherb, Renee, Megan, and Raymond. And it was in June when I set out on a still ongoing, nearly year-long hunt for the latter. Since I uploaded my 4-part Hunt for Raymond series in which I spent an entire day unsuccessfully trying to find everyone's favorite science-loving cat, I've tried on multiple off-camera occasions to find him and have still come up dry. But I do have a little bit more insight on the matter. You see, when a random villager shows up, whether it be on an island or in your campsite, the game picks from a random number generator to determine who shows up. The way this works is it randomly picks a species first, then randomly picks an animal from that species. So instead of choosing a random villager out of the 393 in the game, it picks one of the 35 species, then picks a random member of that species. Raymond is a cat. There are 26 cats in the game. That's more than any other species. So even though cats are technically more common than, say, octopuses, of which there are only 3, you're 8 times more likely to run into Marina than you are Raymond. That was a long-winded way of saying that these are numbers that would have put my mind a little more at ease had I known about them in June. It was around this time that I started to get a little bored. I noticed myself playing Animal Crossing less and less, but I still wanted to be playing Animal Crossing. This will happen to me sometimes. I'll be playing a game and I'll get bored, but I still want to play that game, so I'll switch to a different game mode or something. But in Animal Crossing, I felt like I had done all there was to do. I don't really fish for fun. I usually only do it to fill out my collection. In past installments, I would make designs at the Able Sisters, but weirdly enough, I don't like doing it as much in this game because they round out the finished product so it doesn't look too pixelated. So sometimes what I'm drawing comes out different from how I pictured it. So, to counteract this boredom, I did something drastic. I completely redesigned my entire town. Spent millions of bells to move every building to a new location. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the fruits of my labors. Come and stop by Scenic River City, located in the middle of nowhere. Town Square is where you'll want to spend most of your time, exploring our museum, hanging out in our visitor center, and spending countless hours shopping at Nooks. While you're here, make sure to stop by our bamboo garden, pub, Mario level, and graveyard. Planning on living here? Well, too bad. All 10 of our condos already have people living in them. You'll have to wait until one of them decides to leave on their own. Oh, and if you are going to be stopping by, keep an eye out for Shadow Mario. He's been causing some mischief again lately. I love my island. It's not the most detailed or fancy island I've seen. Some of my friends whose islands I visited over the past year are much more impressive than mine, including lightnings and monsoons. I think the reason I love mine so much is because I created it. Every house, every hill, every flower, every decoration, every design, every reference, created and designed by yours truly. The addition of terraforming in this game really opens up Animal Crossing as we know it and allows you to truly have complete control over what your island looks like. I think it's the one thing that's been missing. The Fireworks Festival was really cool. Not so much fun as there wasn't much to do, but the fireworks themselves are worth the price of admission. You could turn your designs into fireworks. A bunch of people I know spent all week designing new fireworks specifically for the event, but I just used the ones I had already downloaded from other people. Also, swimming. Swimming was in New Leaf, but I never really did it, so when it was announced that it was being included in New Horizons, I got very excited. It honestly ended up being more tedious and time-consuming than I would have hoped, and was probably one of the reasons I stopped trying to 100% the museum, but I'll get into that later. It was also around this time that I sort of just stopped caring about the visitors. I unlocked all the LaBelle clothes, I had a ton of rugs, and Gulliver is just so boring. He talks forever and he never gives me anything good. Nowadays, I really only interact with Red, Kix, Gulliver, and occasionally Flick when I happen to catch an expensive bug. It was around the time that acorns and pine cones showed up that I really started focusing on the game again. With each new thing together came a new set of DIYs to collect. Mermaid set, Harvest set, Christmas set, Easter set, and I was obsessed with collecting all of them. Not obtaining a specific DIY from a given time exclusive set became my least favorite part of the game. I really felt like I was missing out even if I failed to get just one. It was also around this time that I was both incredibly out of storage and sort of wanted to redo my house's interior. But as much as I wanted to redo my house, I loved my house. I mean, I wanted to redecorate because I like decorating, but I don't want to get rid of garbage room. So, to fix both of these problems, I made a second villager. Ladies and gentlemen, may I introduce you to Harley. I gave them a gender-neutral name because I wasn't sure the extent to which I wanted to play them, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to focus on dressing them in outfits at all. I squared away their house in the middle of the forest, quickly paid off their house, and started passing all of the clothes, flooring, and walls I wasn't using over to them. And then Nintendo upgraded the storage size capacity. But I still got to decorate a new house. October brought 3 things: pumpkins, Halloween, and my birthday. Pumpkins were more fun to grow and sell than I thought they would be. You didn't need that many for Halloween, and they sold for a fair amount. My birthday is October 30th, and if you've celebrated a birthday in Animal Crossing before, you know the drill. Birthday exclusive items, birthday exclusive dialogue, but the best part, the birthday exclusive song. The last song to round out my collection of every single KK song. After I celebrated my birthday with my friends in and out of game, I did what I do every year. Go to sleep, content in knowing that I'm 1 year closer to my own death, and wake up the next morning to prepare for Halloween. IRL, we spent Halloween staying in and watching Scooby-Doo movies, old and new. In-game, the Halloween event was in full swing, and let me tell you, it's the most fun I had with Animal Crossing all year. It introduced a trade and barter system where you can buy and save up candy all month long, then use it as leverage to get special items and special candy from your villagers. You then trade the special candy to Jack for even cooler Halloween items. And along with all that, there was new outfits, expressions, and otherworldly skin colors, all Halloween themed. Mushrooms just added one more thing to do daily. Good thing I had given up on swimming at this point, because adding both that and mushroom collecting to my list would have added a good 30 minutes to my daily schedule. Speaking of, it was around this time that I stopped caring about 100%ing the museum. I sort of hit a brick wall. As fun as filling out the bug and fish catalog was, there were a couple bugs in November that I just couldn't seem to catch. So the calendar rolled over, I hadn't collected every bug, and all of a sudden, I was free. Well, I'll never do it now, I said to myself. You don't get anything for completing the museum, the internet said to me. So, screw it. To quote Thomas Jefferson, that's one less thing to worry about. It solves that problem. Now let's talk about Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving was also really fun. Turkey Day Tom, or whatever this guy's name was, needed me to fill out a list of very specific ingredients for him so he could finish Thanksgiving dinner. But what he doesn't tell you is that there's secret menu items, and your villager friends know the secrets. Bring these ingredients to him, and you unlock a slew of Turkey Day DIYs that I quickly filled one of Harley's empty rooms with. So what I didn't realize about December is that it brought double the DIYs. Holiday DIYs, which are separate from snow DIYs, and I unfortunately didn't get them all this time. I still don't. But December itself was a pretty fun time. I really enjoyed doing some light Christmas redecorating to Town Square. And in October, I replaced all of my garden lanterns with jack-o'-lanterns, and I left them up for December to give a light Nightmare Before Christmas vibe. The actual Christmas event, as you'd expect, was all about delivering presents and getting holiday-themed rewards. I redid my main room, essentially turning it from Ariel's underwater grotto to Elsa's ice palace. Don't worry, garbage room is still intact. I spent New Year's Eve at Lightning's house like I always do, and rather than watching the ball drop, we all watched the countdown in Animal Crossing, all simultaneously unlocking the last page of the Nook Milestones app. January brought a lot of, hey, why is there still snow? Hey, why does snow grow flowers? Speaking of flowers, how the fuck do I still not have a blue rose yet? I really thought I had a grip on this hybrid flower breeding, but I can't seem to get that last blue rose. I have what I'm like 70% sure are hybrid red roses, and I water them every single day that it doesn't rain. So either they're not actually hybrid red, I don't actually know what I'm doing, or the RNG on these goddamn flowers has to be a little more forgiving. Truly disappointing. There's still snow. Animal Crossing didn't really recognize Valentine's Day in a big way, which is fine because it's a made-up holiday, but it did recognize Mardi Gras in the form of Festival. Festivale? I really disliked Festival. My town got the color green, so naturally, I wanted to change all of those to pink-purple, so I spent all day collecting 2 of each item and tediously catching feathers to turn them pink. It wasn't fun, but the end result is my dope Festival stage, complete with this giant float that moves and plays a song. Needless to say, it was around this time that I was getting restless. The holidays are over, Festival was a bust, it's still snowing. I was pretty overdue for something to fill me with excitement for this game again.
Super Mario-themed items are coming to your island. Super Mario Bros. 35th anniversary-themed items are coming to the Animal Crossing New Horizons game.
And Mario items are exactly what I needed. And finally, too, past Animal Crossing games had plenty of items from other Nintendo series, so it was kind of weird that the game didn't have any. This Mario 35th anniversary event is the gift that just keeps giving until it takes it all away, but you can't take away this awesome Mario level I made live on stream at twitch.tv/PeerToOccult. Go give us a follow if you haven't already. We're live at 5 every Sunday. Okay, I'm done. All the Mario items make the sound or do the animation you'd expect them to. You can even collect coins. They went above and beyond my expectations bringing Mario stuff to Animal Crossing, and I can only hope they give the same treatment to Zelda because I have an embarrassingly bare forest that could definitely benefit from some Legend of Zelda theming. So there you have it. An entire year with Animal Crossing. You probably have a few questions, and I'm going to do my best to answer them. So, first and foremost, did I ever get Raymond? And the answer is, unfortunately, no. I still have not run into him. I haven't given up, but I'm not making a big deal about it anymore. If a spot happens to open up, I'll buy a handful of tickets and hope for the best. Did I have fun? Absolutely. I talked a bit about experiencing burnout and boredom at some points, but the times that I was having fun heavily outweighed the rest. Am I going to continue playing Animal Crossing? Of course I am. Am I going to continue to play it every single day? Probably not. It was a fun experiment, the operative word being fun, but I think I'm going to revert to a more regular every couple days schedule. It also depends on what happens next. Will we get the same exact Easter event as last year? Will we in fact get Zelda items for The Legend of Zelda 35th anniversary? Maybe there will be a huge update that we don't even see coming that'll let you do something crazy like double your island size. I would pay money for that. This game is a pretty unique opportunity to survive for a couple years with different and exciting updates. So before I end the video, there's one person I wanted to talk about. Someone who was instrumental in my enjoyment of this game over the last year. Someone who also pretty much played Animal Crossing every day this year. My mother. Remember when I said I was playing the game for like 2 to 6 hours a day for the first month or so? I was doing it while sitting next to my mom, watching her play as I did. My mom was just excited for this game to drop as I was. I bought it for her as an early Mother's Day gift, and she, like me, has barely put it down since. I spent more time this past year with my mother than I have since I was probably 11 years old. Comparing DIY collections, micromanaging KK songs so we could both round out our collection, stealing each other's fruit, hunting down tarantulas, but most of all, having fun. So, Mom, thank you. Thank you for enjoying this game with me this year. This video is dedicated to you. And since this is technically a review, Animal Crossing New Horizons gets a 9.5 out of 10. Not many games are perfect, but this one comes pretty damn close.